Thoughts trigger emotions. Those very same emotions like fear or happiness, sadness, anything. Those emotions trigger a bodily reaction, a physical bodily reaction. And those reactions drive us to act in a certain way. So if we're sad, we'll do one thing. If we're angry, we'll do another. If we're happy, we'll do a different thing. So those thoughts triggering our emotions actually trigger us to act and behave in certain ways. This is where it's getting very powerful. Those thought patterns that we have, they have created a mental circuit in the brain. When we repeat different thoughts, they become subconscious behavioral patterns. So when we repeat things, they become almost unconscious as you do them over and over, and they become behavioral patterns, or what we would really normally call that is a habit. Well, let's talk about habits. Habits are things that happen unconsciously and automatically. So when you have something that's happening unconsciously and automatically, it has a lot of power over you. This is how your thoughts really change your reality. Okay, so the mind, what scientists would agree, is the most powerful computer in the world at the moment. I mean, we may develop something more powerful, but at this point, the mind is the most powerful computer in the whole world. That energy that moves across the different synapses of your neurons has the potent potential to really revolutionize your life. This is true. A single thought can spark a flurry of activity in your brain and in your actions. In a moment, we can decide to commit to something, anything, okay, that'll move us in one path or another towards our dreams. But those same thoughts could also fester, and they could marinate in our minds, infecting every emotion and behavior until it manifests into reality. We've all seen this in our friends or maybe even ourselves. There's no denying the real power of our thoughts, and there's no hiding from something so real and exact. Okay. But I want everybody to understand you can harness these for good, and people have also leveraged these for extreme bad. Okay. What actually are thoughts? Let's dive down even a little bit further and deeper. And how do they work? I want to tell you, a thought appears real when you give enough attention to it. It's almost like you're flagging an email or tagging an email. Okay. When it comes in, it gives a consciousness to it. Okay. When you flag it, you're flagging it in your awareness, like you're aware of that. And you're then drawing a focus or almost a light to it deliberately until you're doing this until you reorient or deliberately focus your attention elsewhere. So your thoughts come in and they go out, and then other thoughts come in and some of them grab your attention and there's a little bit of an emotion. You're deliberately now focusing all of your energy on that. That's where that gets very powerful. But when you deliberately focus on the next thought, even creating a thought about ice cream, that other thought will just keep going by. So this is kind of your way out here. So can your thoughts create your reality? They can. Both scientists and philosophers both agree. Also yogis. You create what you think. You're the creator of your world. We're getting very deep here. Okay. What you focus on is where your energy goes. So when you place energy on something over and over, actions start to align with this. And this manifestation of your thoughts is therefore created. You keep thinking about it, then you start to take actions and you start to talk about it. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you really want something, okay, but you have a doubt, say, I really want X. If you have doubt about what you want, those doubts are thoughts. And they have an intense energy because there's so much desire attached to them. So I know a lot of people that I do coaching and they really want X, but they're really worried about Y. And they're more worried about Y than they want X. So what's happening there is there's a competing belief system or competing thoughts, but the one that has the most energy, the one that has the most desire attached to it is the one that's going to win. So again, like I said, like yogis, philosophers, and neuroscientists all agree now that thoughts do not define us. They do create our reality, but they don't define us. Now watch, I'm going to give you your way out right now. They can and will likely shape your outcome if you're not aware of how to work with them. So let me say this another way. Thoughts emerge from your consciousness and they slip away as easy as they appear. To associate your thoughts, to associate with them, to attach to them, to think you are them is misleading. Some thoughts aren't even useful. Okay. Your awareness or energy registers to what you see through your eyes and it goes into your nervous system. Then the mind is compelled to add a dialogue about what it perceives, like a narrative. So here, watch this. What a cute dog. It has so much energy, you reason. Okay. Observing the dog alone is not enough. The mind feels compelled to narrate what it sees. Therein lies the problem. Okay. The mind adds its own narrative to everyday events. We don't really need to do that. Then what we'd start to do is we start to accept these narratives as the truth, which they are not always. This is how bias is formed. Also, these narratives are often negative. People tend to dwell more on negative things than on good things. So those biases and those narratives sometimes are more negative. The mind then becomes obsessed with negative things. This is where we're getting into anxiety and potentially depression. It becomes obsessed with some negative things because we start to have judgments or guilt, and even anxious thoughts are produced by those, and so on and so on. So rather than being your thoughts and emotions, can you be the awareness behind them? You can. This is what mindfulness teaches us to do. Okay. You can just be the awareness that I had that thought and it comes and it goes and you don't have to attach to it. Okay. And it's a practice that you cultivate. So I want you to know that thoughts occur through you, like a radio transmitting a frequency or a signal. You're the receiver of the signal. But those thoughts alone, not the thoughts alone are not the cause of your like anxiety or depression, your unhappiness or your suffering. The thoughts are not the cause of that. It's when we identify and attach to those that we start to get anxiety and we start to stumble. Okay. When we believe our thoughts instead of what is really true for us, we experience an emotional distress, which is anxiety and depression. Anxiety is a sort of natural alarm or body's GPS that something that we're attaching to isn't really real. Okay. So when we don't listen to all that mumbo jumbo, we're okay. But if we do listen to the constant thoughts, the negativity, we start to feel anxious. We start to feel overwhelmed. We start to feel these things. Okay. Now this is really weird. We're diving down through and it's very deep but it's very true. So repeating thoughts begin to have an increasing amount of power. You can choose which thoughts you believe. This is a fact. And you can add meaning to them. But you cannot stop thoughts. I've been in many meditation retreats and silent retreats, and a lot of people try to stop their thoughts, and it's not possible. This only amplifies them and makes them actually happen even more. Okay. So the aim really is not to stop the thoughts. It's to reduce the volume and the intensity of the thoughts. You really want to start to move towards being the perceiver or being just aware of the thoughts and identifying with them less. So you're not really angry, but you understand you're feeling something right now, but we don't even need to necessarily label it anger. We could label it just a feeling. And so when we start to do that, we pull back and we get a different perspective. Mindfulness is used as a tool in scientific studies and throughout the world that helps us get a hold of these runaway thoughts. The aim of mindfulness is just to concentrate on our awareness and notice them, but not become invested in them. Okay. It's supposed to be a non-judgmental awareness of your thoughts. Okay. And this is not really hard to do, this mindfulness. So the moment we place our awareness on identifying or attaching with these thoughts, that's when we really relinquish control. We keep our power when we choose the thoughts that we want. We want to let go of the meanings that we so desperately cling to, the narrative that we have about everything, because that's where that gets the emotion clicked into it. And that's where that becomes harder and harder to let go of. So no matter how lost you sometimes get in your thoughts, in the worry, in the anticipations of what is next to come, who you really are is not the thought, because you know the thoughts come and go. You also know when you slow down, when you really slow down consciously, and maybe even turning your awareness in towards your breath, which you can always do, noticing and lengthening your inhalation and exhalation. Just by doing that and focusing all of your attention on your breath, the thought will actually just fleet. The thought will go by. So when you refocus your attention on your thoughts, on a different thought or your breath, becoming more and more increasingly absorbed into that thought, okay, of the breath or of the feeling in your body, those thoughts will actually release. So to recap, thoughts have power. Thoughts are all negative or positive, but there's more negative than positive. Okay. And we can choose our thoughts and what we focus on. That's where we have the power. The power of these thoughts actually creates our anxiety. Okay. They determine how you feel. Those feelings turn into decisions and actions, and they affect and can control every part of your life. Your thoughts are one of the most powerful tools that you ever have to change your life.